Right, let's see how this goes. Adam, you can't move. You get in a position now. Get into your position and you're
Right,
staying
that's
there for
it.
half an hour. Hello and welcome to the Last Ditch podcast. This week I'm again joined by Adam and we are doing the greatest trios in football history. There was a lot of different trios we could have gone with over world football. We've just gone with club football as opposed to international because I think you could have gone all sorts. You could have gone to the Brazil teams, you could have gone with certain England teams, France teams. So we kept it with club. That way, there's not kind of, you can keep that. I don't know, like when you're talking about, I feel like it's hard to tell them, well, these won a World Cup or these won a Champions League. Like, what's the level?
Yeah.
So I'm going to start this week. But we did have some good feedback from you actually coming on, so you've got a lot to live up to. It's like 1 from 1. You got some good feedback. You need to sell it again for episode 2. So for my number 5, straight out, I've gone with Salah, Firmino, and Mane. They had over 300 combined goals for Liverpool. They won the Champions League. They won the Premier League. They won a Club World Cup. With this team, I think there's a lot of people with these 3, should I say? I think there's a lot of people that could probably put them higher. There's people who wouldn't even put them in the top 5. I do think they were a fantastic front 3. I think they all worked like clockwork, but I think it does show that if you took one of them out, the other 2 maybe didn't perform as well.
Yeah.
I think.
I think Salah every year pretty much performs well. I think Firmino dropped off once Mane had left.
Yeah, I thought Mane was the one that really, when he left, there was a big change in the kind of the system, how it was like trying to fill a void that you'd had for however many years. That was, this front 3 that had been performing week in, week out for Liverpool, and then one of them's left, and it's like, oh, we've now got to try and fill it, and I think that's what Klopp's done, and obviously then Firmino left, and it's now Salah, and you don't really know what your front 3 is really. You don't know if it's Diaz, Nunez, and Salah. You don't know if it's Gakpo, Jota. Yeah. You can't really tell front 3.
I think that's quite good with Liverpool because then obviously depending on who he's playing, he can switch it up.
Yeah.
And also people, sort of expect Salah, but the other 2 sort of a bit of a.
Yeah, I know. I think for me, a trio has got to be one of them that you know exactly the starting week in, week out. They are the very best, and I just think that at the moment there's a lot of clubs. Really, it's very rare you get a front 3 that is so formidable. That are going to be weak in. There's a lot of teams now that have maybe a couple of wingers on the books, and they've got a striker and maybe another player that can play striker, and they just kind of rotate them. And it's very rare you get that front 3 now, I think, in football.
Yeah, like I say, I think modern day football, there's too many games.
Yeah.
Nowadays to sort of have a front 3 that sort of always play. I mean, you look at City, you normally always have Haaland, but then who does he go on the wings? Does he go with Doku? Does he go with Foden? Does he go with Grealish?
Yeah.
He's always switching it up. Like I say, I think modern day football, too many games
to have just front 3. That's.
Yeah.
I think you can have, like, especially in the bigger games, I think you tend to have your starting team along, but I think there's a few, just because while we're on the topic of Liverpool, I think maybe Klopp's still a bit undecided on who he wants as his
proper
front 3.
I think he likes Diaz on the left. I'm just not sure who he wants in the middle. Sometimes it's Gakpo, sometimes it's Jota, sometimes it's Nunez. Then he's put Nunez on the left. He scored against Bournemouth in the League Cup.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, really. I think Salah's pretty much nailed on.
Nunez is an absolute enigma because one minute you see him and he's almost like so erratic you don't know what's next. I mean, he can sky a shot from literally right in front of the goal, or he can come on against Newcastle and score 2 goals and win you the game from being 1 goal down. It's just one of them players. But no, I've got them at 5, so I'll let you choose who your number 5 is.
So my number 5 might surprise Dan. I've gone with George Best, Bobby Charlton, and Dennis Law.
Okay.
I think them 3 obviously won your first European Cup.
Yeah.
I think 600 plus goals between the 3 of them.
Yeah.
I don't really know if they're a front 3. I mean, obviously you had George Best on the wing, and then obviously.
Well, I've actually, funny enough, I've got them at number 4, so it kind
got
of
them at number 4.
it kind of can
right.
combine onto like with. For me, I kind of look at that and I go, obviously it was before our time, but this was in world football. Everyone talks about that Best, Law, and Charlton, and I think Law was more like a centre forward.
Yeah.
Charlton was in behind, and George Best was on the wing, but there was still a 3 that combined to get. I mean, over 600 goals. It was in 1,300 matches. So you think that's a goal every other game, and you think that is insane. And obviously winning Man United's first European Cup, being part of that. That team that rose from like the Busby Babes and the Munich air disaster to, build Man United up again and become that. They have a statue outside Old Trafford as well. So it's like, they're very well thought about between us, like United fans and stuff. But so that's your number 5, is it?
Yeah, that's my number 5.
So, well, that's my number 4, so you might as well go on to your number 4.
All right, okay. My number 4. My number 4 is also one that you've already mentioned. I've got Salah, Mane, and Firmino.
So we've basically gone with our 5 and 4.
Switched. I mean,
it's awkward with these things, I think, because you could have someone higher up or lower down, and it's like you could talk about them at 4th, and then you get up to think, I've got them in 2nd. You got to talk about them again. But I mean, you can tell us from a little bit more. I mean, we've already kind of covered it.
Obviously, it's sort of when I'm old enough to remember watching them 3 play when obviously Charlton and Best and that, obviously they were amazing, but like we said, it's sort of before my time. So that's maybe why Salah and that have got above. Some people might disagree, but
I think, but that's it. That's the opinions, and it's like at the end of the day, some people might go with no, this is like the stats and how like well regarded they are, and how much of a legend they are. Some people go with more modern. I mean, Ollie, he was like obviously when he was picking the greatest team, he was like he was going with someone like the kind of the players that he'd watched. And that's fair enough. And he picked a player that he hadn't even been born when he was playing. So to be fair, Ollie and no, but
Ollie getting raped.
I keep that in, Ollie. No, but this is the thing. Like it's about opinion, and I think with them, I think with 5 and 4s, you tend to be number 1 tends to be a one that you kind of stand out with, and I think the both of us, I think we both got the same number 1. But I think 2 and 3 can be switched, and same with 4 and 5. I think it's just your own personal preference. And,
I mean, like we said before, you could have all kinds of people in there. I mean, I think of like was it 2002 Brazil front 3?
Yeah, Rivaldo, Ronaldo, and Ronaldinho.
Yeah, I mean,
see, that's what I mean. I could have picked them, but then I was like, no, we needed to keep it as club because,
Well, I mean, going back onto Salah and that, I mean, won our first Premier League in, 30 years.
And arguably, they could have had more if City hadn't had the dominance.
Could have had more. I mean, obviously...
You've missed out twice on the final day, is it? Is that twice they've done it? And then obviously two Champions League finals.
One was 97 points Liverpool got. I think we missed out by a point. And then, like any other year, that's and then
obviously the Villa one when you were against, was it 2 seasons ago? So, and then you had the Champions League when you gone for the quadruple. So, you could have arguably had a quadruple with them,
Yeah,
and I think it was was Mane was there, wasn't it, when you were going for the quadruple? Was he?
Yeah,
he was.
Yeah,
I just had he went to Bayern.
He went to Bayern for a season, and now he's in Saudi Arabia.
Al Nassr with Ronaldo.
Yeah, I know.
So, well, I'll have a see of my number 3. I'm pretty certain I know who it is. Well, speaking about Ronaldo, my number 3 is Cristiano Ronaldo, Karim Benzema, and Gareth Bale. The Real Madrid front 3. With these, we've got obviously some of them here, like 2014 Copa del Rey, 4 Champions Leagues, 3 UEFA Super Cups, 4 FIFA Club World Cups, the 2017 La Liga, the 2018 Spanish Super Cup. The one that always stands out for me with these is the 3, like the back-to-back Champions Leagues. That was absolutely insane.
The first time in the current format.
Yeah. And I think, and by the way, this wasn't like they were just turning up and beating like pretty crap teams on the way. They were beating Bayern Munich, beating Liverpool's, like these were teams that were like really good in their league form, and they were getting possible to go for it. I think winning it once, fantastic. Winning it on the double, never heard of. The fact they won it 3 times, and that team, I mean, they had Navas in goal, they had Ramos, Varane, Carvajal, Marcelo, Cruz, Casemiro, Modric, Ronaldo, Benzema and Bale, and Zidane as the manager. Honestly, that team, noodle hair Ronaldo as well. You just knew before that game even started, you saw him and you were like, game on, like they are going to win this. You could just... The aura that team had is... that team actually goes up. I mean, we'll do another one of greatest football in sides and stuff, but I tell you what, that team is... I think that's the best team I've ever seen. I genuinely do think that I've ever watched. Literally...
Probably same for me as well. I mean, the only other mentions like Barcelona with Xavi, Iniesta, Messi.
Yeah, because they were brilliant, but I'm trying to think of like... I mean, there's obviously, I could easily say like the United sides and that, but like for every single position, there was not one player you looked at. I mean, people could say Carvajal because he wasn't really, say, a glitz and glamoured name, but he did his job. He knew what he had to do, and it was just like, I think there's so many players that probably were underrated because of the absolute stature that Ronaldo had there, that he just kind of turned up and it was like 3 goals down, sweet, Ronaldo will get it in the second leg. Like that's how it seemed. Like, every time I watched that game, a Real Madrid game in the Champions League, I knew that they'd win. Or if they lost in the first, I knew they'd get it back in the second because that, like, I don't know what it was, his mentality. I'm not trying to dick ride Ronaldo here, but like, I'm not being funny. The mentality that he had. I mean, you've got to admit, I know you prefer Messi in that, but you've got to admit that mentality to go every single game he was turning up and getting goals. And he was just this is what I do. It doesn't like, I'm just turning up and, firing it up.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was near enough every game. I mean, if the rest of the team were being a bit lacklustre, he always turned up.
Yeah.
He always turned up in the big moments as well.
I think out of the front three, I think people probably would select maybe Bale. Gareth Bale, I think he maybe didn't get... I think he was brilliant at Real Madrid and he obviously won all like the titles that he did and stuff and the accolades and what have you, but I think it was probably hard for him because it was probably similar to... Well, a team will come on to that with someone else that felt like they were in the shadow of like this big name, and realistically, there was points that Bale was the one that against you, the bicycle kick. The 2 goals. Ronaldo didn't even score in that final. Bale won that.
I was about to say with Bale, it brings me straight back to that final. I remember watching it at home, but
I remember watching it as well.
Yeah,
I think for me, right, it was. Who got this? First goal was from Benzema, wasn't it? Because it was Karius made that mistake. Then he's got one back, and it was the fact it's 1-1. That ball comes in, and Bale overhead kicks that, and it was perfect. And it was just to have the bollocks to do that
in the
Champions League final, and obviously hit it, and it like went through Karius' hand. But that goal, if someone says Gareth Bale, I think that one stands out for me the most. That Champions League final overhead kick.
Yeah, no, definitely. Definitely that overhead kick one. I think. Well, I watched it go in, and I thought, wow, like, it doesn't matter who you've got in net. You could have Neuer, you could have had any good keeper at the time.
No one was saving that because it was just perfect.
Was saving it. I mean,
I don't think anyone expected him to do it. To be honest,
Karius got his stick, which
he did deserve because he was poor in that final for years. He did.
Poor,
but even like earlier on that campaign against Juventus, I think did they get 3-0 up Real Madrid? I think they did, didn't they? Because Ronaldo scored that bicycle kick in that one, didn't he? Because it went over, and then Buffon did that min save, went over, and then Ronaldo did, and he actually says that's his greatest ever goal. He thinks that's the greatest ever goal he scored. It was perfect. I mean, obviously it didn't go, say, in the top corner, but it was perfectly hit how he executed it. And I think with that, like, that was when Juventus came from 3 goals down, they got 3 back, and then that was at very end. They did a foul, and Real Madrid got the penalty and ended up knocking them out and moving forward. But it was just, I think, because obviously Benzema was the last one to stay, wasn't he? And Benzema still tore it up, and I think Benzema was probably an underrated player, really, because I
think both Benzema and Bale were in Ronaldo's shadow because Ronaldo was such a big figure
and such a good player and such scoring
and
goals.
Turned up at all the big moments. Because when you thought of them front three, obviously you knew Benzema and you knew Bale, but it was always Ronaldo.
Yeah.
And like you say, obviously Benzema was in his shadow, but then stayed and arguably had a unreal season.
Yeah, he did.
Obviously won the Ballon d'Or. So,
surprised Messi didn't win it.
definitely think them two were in his shadow. But
so who did you go for as your number 3 then? Have you gone with the same?
I think me and you. I think we've gone with the same people, just a different order.
Right.
So my number 3 is Rooney, Tevez, and Ronaldo.
So can I just guess, have you had Ronaldo, Benzema, and Bale at 2?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you've got them at 2. So
yeah, I've got them at 2.
It brings us on to, because my number 2 is Ronaldo, Rooney, and Tevez.
Yes.
Now, I just think with certain, I mean, it's quite funny how we've literally got the switch around of like the different ones. But
I mean,
these 3, right? This was in, like, honestly, they were together for 2 seasons, 2007 to 2009. And in that time, they won 2 Community Shields, 2 Premier Leagues. They won the Champions League in 2008. They won the FIFA Club World Cup in 2008, and they won the League Cup in 2009. That's not the only thing. They had the back-to-back UCL, Champions League, should I say UCL.
yeah.
They had back-to-back. They could have done the double-double. So they had a Premier League and Champions League. They were not far off winning the treble in 2008 because they got knocked out by Portsmouth, who eventually went on to win it.
Yeah.
How, if you watch that back, how United did not win that. Like, it was almost like they did not want to go and goal. It was when I think Rio Ferdinand went in net. I don't know if you remember that. Yeah, because we got goalkeeper sent off. And it was like, oh my God. But, I mean, you look back on it and you think, Christ, you could have had a treble. But the year after, and they got to another Champions League final, and they lost out to that brilliant Barcelona side.
Yeah, I have watched that.
And
that Barcelona side was, I mean, Rio Ferdinand, he said about it, he said, we were confident, but he said we just couldn't get the ball off them.
Nah.
It was like,
I think he said Ji-sung Park should have been, I think Fergie says Ji-sung Park should have been put on Messi because he was a workhorse park. Yeah. And I think it was like he needed that. I mean, you can look back, yours with hindsight, you'd obviously do stuff different, but I think that with them 3, I think in Premier League standards, I think obviously people say Salah, Firmino, Mane, but I think these lot, like Ronaldo, Tevez, and Rooney, I think they are up there with the top. Well, obviously the top 3.
I mean, I agree. I think Premier League wise, I think you can't really get better than them.
No,
I mean, obviously
for what they won in such a small amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, obviously people mention Salah and that, but for me, I think, well, I mean, the trophies itself, they won more.
Yeah,
but I think
it was the impact, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think them 3 together were just.
Yeah,
they were brilliant.
Because Ronaldo obviously left in 2009 for Real Madrid.
Yeah.
And then Tevez went to Man City after and Rooney was kind of left. But I think Wayne Rooney, that's another one. Like Rooney and Tevez, this is it unselfishness for the wanting to do for the team helped Ronaldo be the figure that he was for United, because he could have Ronaldo. Let's be real, United. Rooney is a team player. Ronaldo isn't. Ronaldo is a lot for himself. He wants to get the goals. He wants to get, he wants to help the team. Yeah. But if he can get the goals, it's brilliant. And I think that worked perfectly for Rooney. And I think Rooney probably sacrificed his career to accommodate for Ronaldo. And and Tevez was just so erratic of getting in there. And obviously, it was getting that back-to-back Champions League finals. But yeah, it was that was kind of, for me, I just thought you've got to get them in there, because I thought, 2 of them, my footballing favourite players.
Yeah. I mean, going back to Ronaldo again, probably overshadowing other players.
Yeah.
It's probably the same, obviously, as when he went to Madrid, as what it was at Man U.
Yeah. And when he went to Juventus.
Well,
and when he came back to Man U, you can see that he wanted to be. He can take the game and go. And do you know what? To be fair to him, if he wasn't like that, he wouldn't have had the career he did. Because you have to be selfish.
He wanted to take the game and go, but he did do that.
Yeah,
so,
it wasn't like he wanted to and he didn't back it up. He backed it up every single time. And for Man U and Real Madrid, I think they're the 2 best front 3s that Ronaldo's ever been involved in.
Yeah.
And that's my number 3, and that's my number 2, the Rooney. Ronaldo and Tevez.
Well, my number 2.
Your number 2 was
Ronaldo, Bale, and Benzema.
So because we've covered them, it brings us. Oh, go on. Sorry, what were you saying?
No. I was just gonna say. Obviously, we've already said about Bale and Benzema and that, and
it's kind of the
3 were unreal.
it's unreal, the fact of like some of these players you look at and go, it's so many front threes. Even if you look at and go, maybe they didn't win the Champions Leagues and stuff like that, or some trophies, their impact on the game was unmatched. I think there was Shevchenko,
Yeah.
Crespo, and
Kaká.
Yep. Could have said them, but they didn't win a
Could
trophy.
Could have said them, yeah. I mean, obviously,
There was the Henry, Messi,
yeah,
Eto'o. There was multiple ones. David Villa,
Pedro,
Messi. There was a lot, but for me anyway, my choosing was, if you were picking a front three that was just absolute tenacious, and you could have put them in a front, they could have put them in any team, that front three, and they'd get you goals. I feel like a lot with the Barcelona side, say with Messi, Villa, and Pedro, and obviously Henry and Eto'o, Messi. I think the whole team was fantastic to make. It was hard to go, were they a fantastic front three or was it a fantastic team? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference between some of these. I know obviously we can say like the Ronaldo, Benzema, Bale, that was an unreal side, but that front three was ahead of the rest of the team, you know. So, bring us on to Messi. My number one, I think it's your number one as well, is
it will be
Messi, Neymar and Suarez, MSN. 122 goals one season. They then broke their own record and got 131.
Yeah, 131.
They won the Champions League, La Liga and Club World Cup. Now, it doesn't seem like there's like a lot of people could maybe look at that and go, that is easily the best side, and it clearly is, because I mean this impact that they had in the game, and just I mean I'll let you talk a bit about them, and you can say.
I mean obviously going back to the last episode we were on about the comeback.
Yeah.
Obviously them three,
they were part of that comeback. Our best. No, your third. My best wasn't it, the PSG one?
Yeah. So I think them three were unbelievable. I mean, going back to 100 and what was it?
131.
Oh no, 122 in one season. They scored more than Real Madrid that season. Just them three.
Yeah, which is kind of.
And I think that is just bonkers. I mean, even just thinking about like the next season, they even broke it again and went 131 goals. I mean, out of 3 people in one season, that is honestly just mental. But I remember watching, obviously the PSG game when they did the comeback. But I remember watching them.
The Juventus final when they won the Champions League. Is it Neymar with that 100% Jesus or something on his head?
But yeah, I think them 3 were unbelievable. I mean, obviously, I watched quite a lot of Suarez when he was at Liverpool.
Yeah.
I actually watched him live as well. But yeah, Suarez was special even without Messi and Neymar. I
think Suarez shocked me when he went to Barcelona, because it was on the back of the controversy of him biting Chiellini at the World Cup.
I know, yeah.
And he'd obviously done the one in the league earlier on that season, and I thought it was weird. I remember, I was at Nana's, and I remember coming up, this was like, I'm not saying it was before, but it was when you used to look at a paper or somewhere, or I'd come on the TV, on the news, that there was a talks of a transfer, and it was Suarez to Barcelona, and I thought, that's weird. I thought Liverpool just must want rid of them, and like get him out of the club kind of thing, that he doesn't, because of the controversy that he was bringing.
Yeah.
And I didn't think he would actually, I thought he'll go to there, but he might sink, because he's gone to let's be real, going from a Liverpool, being a legend there, you can go to Barcelona, Real Madrid, and just get swamped with the pressure. You know, and likewise for coming to.
I mean, saying about going to Barcelona and getting swamped with the pressure, Coutinho.
Yeah, exactly. Griezmann. That's another one.
I think Coutinho at Liverpool, he was unbelievable. I mean, Suarez at Liverpool with Coutinho, I think just unbelievable. But we were saying about obviously getting swamped at Barca. Obviously, Coutinho went. Yeah. Like you say, Griezmann.
I think with Barcelona and at that stage, like obviously, you had Pep Guardiola had gone to Bayern Munich, and he was kind of on the road to going to City. Obviously, this team, it was like I was saying before about players going and living in the shadow of someone else with Bale. I think Neymar felt like he was in the shadow of Messi, and I think Neymar, I've said this before, Neymar at Barcelona, if he'd stayed there, I think he could have been definitely up there as greatest, like top 3 greatest players, like probably behind Ronaldo and Messi, because I think the talent that he had, such a wasteful talent. It's almost a bit like kind of Pogba. You look and go, there's certain players, the work rate isn't there. And you think he went to PSG to get out of Messi's shadow, no doubt about that. He was not going there to kind of make a big statement. He wanted to be his own player, and realistically, I don't think he realised how good he had it, and obviously he left, and then it was like Messi and Suarez, and it was never really the same. I don't think when Neymar left, I think it was hard to fill that. I think they all worked in unity, and obviously with Messi getting older, Suarez getting older, close to the end, it was just, it wasn't as fluid, and I think Barcelona were always desperate to fill that spot of trying to find like someone to fill that Neymar role, and it's never never been filled. I don't think.
I mean, even till now.
Yeah.
I think obviously they signed Rafinha.
Yeah.
From
they've had Rafinha,
Leeds.
Ansu Fati.
Yeah, they had Ferran Torres, but I think he's.
God, I
maybe
forgot
more
he went there. Ferran Torres.
he
No, he was a winger.
Yeah, I know, but is he not more of a left winger? I mean,
Neymar was on the left wing.
Was he?
Yeah, I name it because Messi was on the right, wasn't he? And then Suarez down the middle.
Yeah, Ferran Torres. Yeah, like you say,
they've just tried. They've tried to like, and I think what Barcelona haven't ever thought of really is building for. I think a lot of teams do this when they kind of go. I think even United under Fergie, like they have this team that's winning. Yep, brilliant, but they look and go. It's also an aging side, and when a certain manager leaves or certain players leave, that structure is going to change because they're not as used to certain players.
Yeah.
Whereas that's what's good with certain players, where they're like a certain team, where they're bringing in youth players or bringing in young new players, and they can play underneath the. I think that's what Man U did for so long so well. I think when people used to go, how did they dominate? It was because they always had someone challenging them.
Yeah,
and they were always on the cusp of coming in, and it's like, I think with Barcelona, that's what's fucked them up really. So that was our greatest trios in football history, guys. We hope you've enjoyed it this week. Obviously, Adam coming back on. Obviously, November is Mental Health Awareness Month. We'd just like to shine a bit of light on kind of saying we will leave contact details, like numbers you can call. Obviously about yourself, but I definitely have suffered with mental health issues and stuff, and it's not nice to be kind of feeling like you are alone, even though there's people around you maybe offering it. Please speak up and don't be afraid to kind of say how you feel, because it is, as men, I think there is a stigma around just man up and toughen up, and everyone feels sad and everyone feels low at times, and I think it's obviously whether it's bereavement, a heartbreak, losing your job, whatever, or stress at work, shout up and always make yourself like heard. Do not like suffer in silence, please. The Last Ditch Podcast, Twitter, Instagram. Even if you want to comment with other people in the YouTube comments, we're always open if you want to contact us and have a crack, or even if you want to come on sometime. If you've got a bit of patter about yourself, you can come on and have a crack with us or whatever like that for a bit of football. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to raise a bit of, obviously, awareness. It's around social media, but as you know from our social medias, we are very strong, me and Ollie, on sharing it and making sure boys are all right.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you very much for watching this week. We're kind of can't say anything just yet, but I'm telling you now, there is an episode that is going to be coming in December. I haven't even told you about this.
All right. Okay.
And this could be the absolute peak of it. So you need to keep involved, keep subscribing, liking, sharing, following us on social media, and I promise you guys, Carlisle fans in particular, you are going to love this one. So thanks very much for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.